It's now or never.
It's the Mega Man, and nah, that doesn't stand for hate. We're just saying it's time for education to be great.
Hello, everyone. This is Make Education Great Again. I'm your host, Chris Moore. Today's topic, it's now or never. Let's seize the school choice moment. Now, I have a breaking article to talk about today and highlight. It's from the Washington Examiner, and it just released early this morning about 6 a.m. So it's pretty current, and I like this article and feature because it's talking and highlighting. I really want to try to be a voice to talk about why this is important and to spearhead this movement across the nation, frankly. It is now or never when it comes to the hope of school choice for our nation, and it needs to be in every single state. And it's frankly the way we stop the great awakening that has been happening in our school system over the past several years. You've seen it. You see the indoctrination, the schools, even the books that they're putting in purposefully trying to talk about content that's not appropriate for kids at early ages, and it's happening all the time under your noses. Let's go ahead and get to today's article. Then I'm going to talk about some other news too. So let's get to it. So here's the article right here. It's from, like I said, the Washington Examiner is presenting this. So it's kind of similarly titled Now or Never, We Must Seize the School Choice Moment. But if you go down here, I like it because it gives some details as far as like the climate of where everyone is and how many people are ready. I think as the Bible says, the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few, and the harvest is plenty for school choice. Check it out. It says late summer 2022 is already proving to be unlike any back-to-school season in the history of America. America's school children may still be prowling the stationery aisles at Walmart and Target hunting for the same old glue sticks, notebooks, and pencils, but their parents have an altogether new item on their school supply list, and that's whether to choose the right to choose where their children go to school. It says when the COVID era remote learning began in 2020, parents gained an unprecedented view inside the school's classrooms or the students' classrooms and their county school board meetings, and what they saw was fraudulent woke propaganda disguised as curricula, union-driven closures, punitive mask and vaccine mandates, and the Democratic Party's crackdown on objections to any of the above. It's changed the moral and political foundations on which our educational system rests. Now check this out. Here's where the numbers are. I thought was interesting. In the last 2 years, Americans' trust in public schools fell more than a third, from 41% to 28%. More than 1.2 million children, 1.2 million children transferred out of U.S. public schools and into educational options not indentured to their zip code. And according to a recent poll, they found that 71% of Americans favored school choice. 71% of Americans favor school choice. If you politicians don't understand those numbers, let me say it again. 71% is awfully close to 100% when you think about it in its entirety. 71% of Americans favored school choice, the highest level of support ever recorded, and more than 80% of parents said that they would vote for candidates outside their party, which is another interesting thing Democrats and Republicans alike better pay attention to, who share their educational views. And who can blame them? America's schools were in crisis before the Great Awakening turned them into an ideological indoctrination camp, and this isn't just true for K through 12, by the way. This is definitely true for the American universities. The most recent national assessment of the educational progress administered before the pandemic found a sharp decline in both reading and math test scores. This, of course, is why wealthy parents have always exercised school choice. The policy debate is simply whether or not everyone should be able to enjoy the same luxury. We always listen to the bottomless hypocrisy of these Democrat elite politicians who say that no, school unions and public schools are the way to go while they send their kids to private schools. So the hypocrisy is just insane. It says, meanwhile, we know that why students can't read and write at grade level or proficiency. It says they traded out the 3 R's for reading, writing, arithmetic, and they've replaced it with racism, pornographic, anti-American, anti-science, and a historical religion known as wokeism, for sure, manifested first as predatory propaganda like the 1619 Project and radical gender ideology. It has since justified brazen abuses of power by principals, school boards, and bureaucracies. Today, the educational system openly discriminates against Asian students. Female student athletes are under attack by transgender extremists who pretend it's fair for boys to compete against women. Schools secretly encourage gender-confused students to transition socially and hide it from their parents. This is true in Loudoun County, Virginia. Authorities, now this is crazy, y'all. Oh my goodness. Listen to me. I got to come on screen just to tell you, listen to what I'm about to read on this part of the article, because This is not something that anyone with common sense is super surprised by, but, you know, when you have men who get to say what gender they are and therefore get to go to what bathroom they want to go to, you could kind of foresee a potential problem if you give it a little bit of thought. But let's go back to the article in case people can't, you know, put two and two together or kind of predict what could happen. Let's see what happened in Loudoun County. It says Virginia authorities, now this is the scary part, the authorities covered up the rape of a female student in the girls' bathroom by a male student who dressed like a girl, then arrested the victim's father for protesting the fact at the school board meeting, at the next school board meeting. The Biden administration accelerated this crackdown by directing the FBI to open domestic terrorism investigations against the parents. The parents. Let me read that again. You missed it. The Biden administration accelerated this crackdown by directing the FBI, you know, that FBI that protects the citizens so well. Oh, wait, no, they just unduly go after a president. They go after a president who did dig up dirt. Okay, whatever. That's another story. This underperforming and treacherous status quo from the government charges taxpayers $770 billion a year is what parents are waking up to. But just as wars are not won by evacuations, policy battles are not won by opponents' self-immolation. Excuse me, big words. The school choice moment is not a victory, just an opportunity. Capitalizing it will require bold leaders who aren't content to sit back and hope that wins will be handed to them. So we got to take the jugular, you know, we got to go for the jugular, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You already know that in Arizona, they're leading the charge. It's the first state to completely go school choice. If you have a student K through 12 in that state, they can apply for a program that can give you up to $6,500 per student. If you have two kids who normally go to public school, you can get about $13,000 to send into private school, get tutors, do online options. You got options. And if you love your kid, get to know what they are, how they're wired, and send them in a place that's going to foster and feed that. It's just common sense. In Blue Virginia, this is another part that's interesting. They elected a Republican governor, which is typically a blue state. They don't vote for Republicans on the strength of his anti-woke, pro-parent education agenda. So people are caring about this. Governor Glenn, he rescued the state school choice program from a Democratic legislator bent on cutting it. And of course, in Tennessee, my home state, they are restarting a major ESA, that stands for Educational Savings Account, pilot programs. I believe they're starting in Shelby counties in the Nashville area that was previously stalled by the court challenges. It's picking up this year. So it's time to go for it. The U.S. Supreme Court just recently struck down an anti-school choice policy that discriminated against religious schools. Now is the time. And when you think about this, I'm going to come back on screen and just talk to you. When you think about what we're up against, we have unbelievable communist style propaganda that has infiltrated just about every sector of our society, from entertainment, obviously in government, and definitely in our school system. They are putting gender confusion. They're doing everything that basically represents humanity and corrupting it. I mean, that's just the best way to put it. And so how do you attack it? Well, the most practical thing is you got to stop feeding. And I once heard a wise person say, what you don't feed dies. If you want to kill something, stop feeding it. And so if you want to kill an abusive school system that is doing the opposite of educating, reading, writing, arithmetic, and instead indoctrinating and doing racist teachings and 1619 projects, you have to stop feeding it. What I mean is stop funding it. Feeding it, funding it, kind of the same thing, right? If you don't fund it, you can't feed it. And so if you feed the people who love the kid the most, the parents, then they can actually direct the funds to a place that's going to actually feed their children in a healthy way. And the people who are out to kill, steal, and destroy, they aren't going to be fed. They die. You see, that's how that works. And so where you meet them, you know, where the rubber meets the road, it's the money right there. And so if we can start this, it's going to give us the leverage, frankly, to get the institution to have to do the will of the people. That's the whole point. Do you understand? Share this video, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You got to send the message out, and you got to just tell people the message. It's time for school choice. It's now or never. The climate, it's ripe for the harvest, as Jesus would put it. But the workers are few. The harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. You got 70% of people who are ready for school choice. You have a climate where it exposed what was going on because of the, virtual stuff. People are now understanding what's the deal. You have people who are trying to, parents, a father who's trying to stand up for his daughter who got raped by a boy who pretended to be a girl, got in the locker room, and we have these nutsos who couldn't predict that. Look at the data about rapes and the percentage that are men. And if you put this is just common sense. And people have lost their minds. Okay, I almost said something there. All right, they lost it. Okay, those of us who are clear thinking and know God, we have to spearhead this movement because it is for the sake of the nation. It's for our kids. We will not survive if we don't take education back. That's why we got to make education great again, and this is how we do it practically. Don't feed it, and it can't live. You want something to die? Stop feeding it. Stop feeding public education. It's stealing, killing, destroying, and we can do something about it. It's now or never. Hey, as always, like, subscribe, share, click the notification bell for more content and analysis. If you haven't subscribed to me on Rumble and or Odyssey, go ahead and do that because you know how it is with this censored platform that we're on right here. But I'm trying to reach the masses as best I can. I love you guys till the wheels fall off, baby. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
It's the Mega Man, and nah, that doesn't stand for hate. We're just saying it's time for education to be great. And if we keep on doing everything that we've been doing, it will no longer be our freedom that we're pursuing.